Hello everybody and welcome to the TT Podcast, the podcast where we talk to one person from the world of the TT to discuss their lives, their journeys and their ambitions with the greatest motorsport and event in the world. Now you may notice already we're not in the studio. That is because we're currently on the island for the Manx GP. What's the Manx GP, you might ask? Well, it's essentially the amateurs version of the TT. This is where people cut their teeth before they head to the big leagues of the TT. Now, there's also, I don't know if I'll get through this, there's also something else missing from the studio. Steve is unfortunately away. He got an email last week about a Bitcoin mine over in the Andes. So he's off in search of his fame and his fortune. But never fear, because we have someone just as charismatic, just as humble, and just as intelligent. Well, I say that. We couldn't get any of that. So we got Lee Johnston instead. Lee?
I don't know whether that's a compliment or an insult, just referring to them things.
One of everything.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Obviously, to be in your presence at any time, at any event, is a privilege. So
special, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be our co-host for the next couple of podcasts.
Whoa. When I signed up to this, I was...
Sorry, you'll be the...
Me
There's your camera.
Yeah.
Go
Sorry.
on.
I don't even need to speak.
See?
They know. The real fans know.
You don't need to speak. You don't need to say a word. Are you looking forward to this?
Yeah, I am. It's a little bit different. Obviously, I'm used to sitting on the other side of the fence. So, I'm genuinely excited.
Thanks, mate. It'd be a shame to not start this with at least getting a bit of an update as to where you're at, because you've had a tough couple of months, to say the least, right?
Well, not really the last month, because that's been mostly sat on the sofa. But it's been hard. I've made no secret of what I've gone through. And I'm sort of glad for that now. At the time, I probably wasn't in the best mental state to be doing what I was doing with the vlog and stuff. But now I genuinely, for the amount of people that have approached me and are grateful for what happened, that means a lot to me now. So, we had some quite bad injuries. Most people understand or know of what the injuries were, so I'm not gonna rant through all that. But yeah, we're getting better every week. We're taking a step, we're getting there.
Still not hanging the levers up just yet, then? Unless this takes off, right?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, this was sort of maybe a bit of a B option, but now all these guys are saying that I'm sort of the main deal. It's like,
Don't worry, Steve. You'll never be forgotten.
You've just done that to psych me out. Put him up there. I mean,
he's literally overlooking you.
I'm not. I'm not ready to hang them up just yet. We don't know the situation, to be honest. The shoulder is a bit of a tricky joint. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
And quite a few. It's ended quite a few racers' careers, so we're not at the point yet to know the full development of how far we can get with it. I think another month or so should be there or thereabouts, and I don't want to make the decision when I'm not ready to, physically or mentally, ready to make it. So I'm going to try and get fit, try and ride a bike, and then I'm going to make the call, because I know you did sport and stuff and you were happy to be midfield, but it's not really in me to do that. So if I'm not fit to be back at the average level that I was before, I've got no interest. So that's sort of the situation we're in.
Well, there's part of me that hopes you make it back, but I think there's a lot of people that'd like to see you with a microphone in your hand.
What, whilst I'm riding the motorbike? Could this be a new...
Maybe on pit lane.
Oh, no.
Seeing as you're stealing his job here.
Do you know what? So it's strange. It's strange. When the guys got me to do that at the TT, I felt... it was really hard, because I know most of us are mates, and I know that the way I feel, and even I spoke to Hillier and Dean and people, and they were really kind to me and spoke and stuff, but I know in the back of their head they're going, why is he coming over here? Do you know what I mean? When he knows that I don't want to talk. So I think it's still that was in my head. Do you know what I mean? Maybe if I did stop racing and that was sort of a different mindset, then I wouldn't care. Do you know what I mean?
No. Shall we get on with this podcast?
Why not?
And the first guest we've got, you two have got something in common, haven't you?
Yeah, something I'm not really proud to the fact that we crashed on the same corner on the same day at the. Well, he copied me really because I crashed first, and
It was like if Lee
if
can do it,
if that corner's good enough for
him.
Lee Johnston, it's good enough for me.
How bizarre that you can both have a crash on the same corner and completely different. Obviously, it put Nathan out of the TT, but
Yeah.
it almost cost you your life, and he kind of got up and.
Yeah,
walked away.
It sounds bad. I'm glad that he was better. No, obviously, in the selfish thing, I'd like to be better off.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he was nowhere near in the state that I was. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't wish on that on your worst enemy. Never mind a kid from Onken. So no, I'm glad, and I'm glad he's in the fit state to be able to ride the bike and stuff.
What are you going to bring to this podcast? Humour?
I don't know. I'm a bit cautious of like the charisma seeping out. I'm just trying to contain that, you know.
Well, try and contain it for the first one. We don't want to overload the guests or the viewers or the listeners. Let's get him on. Nathan Harrison. Nathan, there's not many people that sit in front of us with a 100% record. I don't think we've ever had it. 5 race starts, 5 race finishes at the TT. That's some going.
It's not bad. It's not bad. Like you say, it was good for my first TT, but shame I didn't get to do it this year.
I know, gutted. We'll get into all of that shortly.
Yeah.
First up, let's go back to the question. Now, we asked you before the podcast started, what was your favourite episode of the podcast? You didn't have an answer for me.
It'd been too long since I watched one.
Of course. But you've heard the first question that we always ask. The first question is, when we're rolling up through the gantry into no man's land, we get right to the start line, guy grabs you on the shoulder, eyes are on the flag, waiting for it to go down. What's going through your head in those moments? What process are you going through? And how does it differ from that start line to letting that clutch out?
It's like a mix of emotions, really, isn't it? You're nervous. Nobody's not nervous. But it's excitement as well. Like you look down Glencross Road, I could go down there every day, but it's never the same as when the road's shut. There's nobody in front of you, and that feeling of like normally you have to wait like 12 months, don't you, each time? And it's like the best feeling in the world.
Is there never not a day when you drive down there, because you are local, you live literally, what is it?
5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes up the road. Is there ever a day you drive down that road and not think about it and just drive past it and go, oh yeah, that's the start line?
Not really. Yeah, not really at all. I literally live and breathe the TT. I always go the way the TT course is normally, just to obviously spice it up and see what's going on, especially when like the lead up to the things. So like coming up to like this week and stuff like that, I'm always been going around the TT course. That's like that way, just to see what's going on, and you never don't get excited about it. Do you know what I mean? It's just there's nothing like it, is there?
Well, that's it. We come, if we're lucky, 2 or 3 times a year, and every time I see it, I'm like, whoa. And I don't even race it, so you must feel the same.
Yeah, it's something like I've thought about even before this, that being Manx, I've got quite a few questions actually involving that being the course, and even having the locals. Like when I come here, I leave home and it's you go to work.
Yeah.
Like whereas you still stay in your own house, you stay in your own bed. Do you know what I mean? You get up every morning. He's very proud to be from Onken. He's not actually from Douglas, so that's it. Even though it's all in the same town, but let's get that in there. Yeah, so it's literally, and like you said, he gets up every morning, most mornings, to go to work, and possibly drives that direction or on that road. And it's something like I've spoke to Connor about quite a lot.
Yeah.
You know, the feeling of it's the same piece of road that takes him to work every day is the best racetrack in the world.
Yeah.
It's like there's nowhere else in the world that can like people can't go to Monza or Brands Hatch and they don't drive down to Paddock Hill to get to work. It's like a completely different scenario.
Monaco. You could do that in Monaco if you're
but that's
very...
cars.
But
No one's interested in
works
cars,
there,
are
though,
they?
do they?
Oh,
Even
yeah,
if they don't
well,
try to
true.
work there. But I wondered if you'd eventually just get to the point where you don't even think about the TT when you're doing it. But I suppose, and what I've found from talking to everyone, like the TT is ingrained in anybody that takes part or has anything to do with it.
Yeah.
So you can't go down there without...
You never, like the TT is the TT. There's nothing like it, is there? You're never going to forget it and never not get excited about it. It's like you say, Brands Hatch. Any punter can go ride around Brands Hatch, can't they? And, like track day or whatever. But there's only a select few of lucky people that can go and race around the TT course. So knowing that it's going to be coming up in like 6 months or a month or even 12 months, even after the TT's finished, I go past there and I'm gutted watching everything getting taken down. But there's nothing like it in the world, is there?
That must be a strange feeling as well.
I think even the other side of things that people would never even think of. So he goes into his local shop. There'll probably be still programs left, still some sort of monster marketing or advertising to do with the TT. People on the Isle of Man don't like buying clothes, so all the free merch they'll have blagged off. So there's somebody wearing it. Like, no matter where you walk, there's a TT jumper or a cap or a Manx, all that everywhere. The time. Like, if you've seen someone in England wearing one, it would be like, do you know what I mean? You do see it, you know what I mean, at an event or whatever, but it would be very rare to walk into Leeds city centre. And whereas if you walk into Douglas or Onken, there's someone, do you know what I mean? So it's always there all the time, I think, for someone like Nathan.
Yeah, it's pretty special. Right, take us back. Let's go, because we said right at the start again, Lee, we said we'll go back, we'll talk about Nathan's start, and you were like, well, it was only, 2 weeks ago. But there's been some major moments in your career in that short space of time that you've had it. Let's go back to the start. When did racing start? Was it off-road? Was it straight up to Derby? What went down?
Off-road, it was... I was 4 years old, and I always used to watch Joey Dunlop. I can't remember can't remember the name of the video, but it was like him, and he always used to get this bike and bump started down the road, and there was like cows coming out of the field and all that, and then some fella on a tractor, and it was like, and I was like, I wanted to be Joey Dunlop, do you know what I mean? And then so that was like my initial thing. I always used to want to be Joey Dunlop, so I was begging my mum and dad for a motocross bike to get started, because it's a bit different over here. There's not really like any mini motos or anything like that, so it was motocross. And then my dad spotted that's like back when there was like a notice board, and there was a notice board in the local co-op in Onken. And there was a KTM 50, and he went back home. He's like, "Can I please get it for him? Can I please get it for him? It's his birthday in a few weeks. Can I please get it for him?" So I was like, "Oh."
Wait, so this is your dad?
Yeah, my dad was begging my mum.
Begging your mum?
Yeah, to get the bike for me, because I was desperate for a motocross bike. So she's like, "Oh, just go. If you really want to get it for him, get it for him." So that's how it went. On my 5th birthday, I was 4. I was turning 5. So on my 5th birthday, I went to open my present. I was like, "Oh, I just got some like." There's actually a picture. I'll have to get the picture on Facebook. I had some overalls. They weren't no motocross gear or anything. So a bicycle helmet and a pair of trainers. So I didn't really care that much about my safety. But yeah, I was like, "Oh, that's all right." So I put that on thinking I was a boy. And then walked around the corner, and there was a KTM 50 sat there. So I spent the rest of my birthday riding around the garden with my dad chasing after me.
Amazing. Fully auto?
Yeah, fully auto, yeah. So I did that for a few years. I think the whole neighbourhood actually come around. They all come around and had a go. It did get ghosted into the hedge at one point. Some fella thought he could do it on his own. I think it was my next door neighbour. So there was that. And then from there onwards, then I just did the schoolboy motocross in the Isle of Man. I won one of the championships there. And I think that's when my mum and dad knew they were stuck with me doing bikes. But it's like a family thing, isn't it? You always go and do, like, we're always together at the weekends and stuff like that. So it was, as much as they probably worried about it, they enjoyed it, because every weekend we were away, like, together, yeah. So my dad probably wouldn't say that when I used to sneak off to the shower, and he in the winter was cleaning my bike at like 6-7 o'clock at night. But yeah, so we went down that road, did motocross, and then as soon as I got to the age of wanting to go road racing, it was like 12 in the Isle of Man. So I got that for Christmas, coming up to that season. And I did the Super Teens. I don't know if you remember that series. Did that.
So over on the mainland, you moved.
Yeah, moved I did that first before I went to Derby, because I just wanted to go and experience different tracks. You know what I mean? Derby isn't anything special, is it? So I wanted to try and get out there and basically learn and move up the ranks and try and get somewhere. Like, I think that's where like Carl Crutchlow and that started, wasn't it? The Super Teens and whatever else. So I did that, but then I had a bright idea of there's a 125 GP bike, so like what they ran in British Superbikes at the time. I was like, I was desperate for one of them, so I begged them for one of them. They got me one of them, and then I went to JV on it to have a run on it in the Super Teen year. That was 2012. And I bogged it off the line, and then next minute I had a start line crash because I was with like steel frame 600s and stuff, so I got smashed in the side. Then I had a carbon fibre fuel tank on it, so the fuel went all over me, burnt me, and I broke my femur in 2 places when I was 13, I think I was, so 2012.
So that's really early in your career. Like, most kids get to a decent point.
Yeah.
Like, I get kids all the time on a Whittam track day, and they're like, "Oh, my," or dads, "My kid's amazing." Like, has he had a big crash yet? Because that's normally, if he's still interested after that, then
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But that's really young to have a.
Yeah, I was definitely 13. I was 13, and then I got flown away to all the hay, and I had to get a plate and screws and everything in my femur. So that was 2012 wiped out. But then that's what I think my mum and dad maybe thought. Oh, this is going to be the turning point. They hoped. Yeah, they hoped it was going to be the turning point. And then I was like, straight away, I was like looking for different fairings for it, and I was like, oh, can we get these ones? Can we get that one? So the focus was getting it back together. So we did all that, and then they're like, I think they thought, oh no, he's not losing interest here. So what I did then in 2013, because that was like May 2012. So I spent the rest of the year obviously recovering and everything else. I got the screws and the plates out in the winter, and then in 2013 I went back to the super teens because obviously I would have lost like confidence and everything. So I was like went from like the front of super teens right back to the bottom, and I was like, and I think that was demoralizing me a little bit, but I knew they were like saying you're not going to just go straight back. You've not rode a bike and you had a big crash. And then something just clicked in the middle of the year. I was at Cadwell Park the weekend before the TT, and I went back up to like 5th. So that was obviously the confidence like coming back in me. And then it just went from there. Went to 650s. I actually stayed at Derby for a year while I was on the 650s because there wasn't really a class around that time in 2000. That's like when the Super Twins started coming around.
Yeah.
You know, like TT started to introduce them and stuff like that. And then so I spent a year, and then that was when the 600 come along in 2015, and then it went a bit Pete Tong again. I did 2 rounds and crashed. My brother crashed on the first left-hander at Derby. I crashed on the second left-hander, and unfortunately for me, my brother's one was the slowest left-hander, and mine was the fastest left-hander. And I was all right. I was sliding down the tarmac, but then it was like a ramp when I hit the grass because, like you say, Derby is a bit feral.
Yeah.
So I hit that, and then I was just like cartwheeling head to toe, and every time I landed, it was like points for breaking bones. So yeah, I ended up breaking quite a few things.
So for people that are listening and they think of racetracks, Cadwell, Donington, Brands Hatch, try and describe. Have you been to Derby?
Yeah.
Right, between you, try and describe what Derby's like to someone who's never been.
I think the closest thing in England would be maybe Croft.
Maybe, yeah.
Croft.
Or Darlingmore,
Darlingmore would be a better,
which is just basically just a big
basically
triangle.
what was an airfield, which was most tracks in England started off life as, then which that's what Derby is as well.
Yeah.
So it's the flat bit of tarmac that was already there.
They still use like cones for corners and stuff. So there's no like curbs or anything like that.
So when he was going for a good lap time, that obviously moved the cone. This is what he's been known to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Like in golf, you bring your own ball. He brought his own cones and just moved the track. Yeah, it's about 500 meters shorter on a good lap time.
But tell us how hard, just going back to like super teens and going back to the mainland, for an islander, how hard and how much hard work is it for your parents and the whole family to up every couple of weeks, get on the ferry, go over to the mainland? Because again, wherever unless you're kind of going to Oulton Park, you've got a massive drive on your hands when you're on the mainland.
It's not even that. It's you're £500-600 down before you actually get there. So like Lee, for example, I know you didn't used to live there, but now he lives on the mainland. So if he goes to Brands Hatch, it's just fuel, isn't it, to get to Brands Hatch? Whereas initially I had like £500-600 boat fare to get off the island, and then the fuel to get down to Brands Hatch. So that was a big hit. The Steam Packet used to like give like races and stuff like a discount and stuff like that. Luckily enough now I am like fully supported, so that's like a massive help. But you have to like climb up the tree, you know, and like prove that you're not just going to be like a 1 year wonder or whatever.
You're not fine though. Like this is maybe I was different, but that was a massive motivation. So obviously when I lived in Ireland with my dad, it was like us two just went to do junior superstock, and I don't know about most people, but the drive home when you've had a bad weekend with your dad, you have to drive from Brands Hatch to the ferry. You're on the ferry, then the next day, and we worked together then as well. I was like, that was a long time for you to have it. So if there was any motivation to have a good weekend, it was like...
For the happy trip on the way back.
That's it, because like the boat to Northern Ireland probably the same. So we used to go up to Heysham and it was like 2:15 in the morning. It's still the same now. So overnight, I'd go home, have a shower, have my breakfast.
And go to work.
Yeah, or school then, but then to work. And it's like, people in the UK, they're back home, aren't they, at 10:30, 11 o'clock latest at night. They just go to bed and then wake up and go to work or whatever they do. So yeah, it is like Lee said, it is a massive motivation because you realise the effort you got to put in. It's twice as much, isn't it? You got to take a day off work or school earlier. Then, like you say, you're knackered for the rest of the week because it's like a jet lag, isn't it? All week you've been racing all weekend. People think it's like one big jolly, but it's not. Putting like an on and up, putting it all down, racing. So it is like it does motivate you more to want to succeed.
And the family at this point are just doing it because you love it. There's no kind of, if we keep pushing him, hopefully he'll get into World Superbikes, MotoGP or something like this. Be TT winner. It's literally just he loves it, and we're gonna support him and push him.
That's it. In racing, you get like a lot of pushy parents, don't you? But to be fair, mine who used to just do it as long as I was happy. They were like, go and do what you want. Like my mum and dad never ever told me, oh, go out and win this race, or when I come back and I'm third, they're like, oh, why are you third? It's no good first. You know what I mean? We used to go, as long as I come back with a smile on my face, that's all I cared about. Yeah. Same now. But so that's basically what we did. It was just for enjoyment. I don't know how they seen it as enjoyment, do you know what I mean? But it was enjoyment for me, but maybe they just seen it as they enjoyed it because I was happy. So, but like you say, it's all going as a family, isn't it? It's like a family. It's like a family. There's not many families that can do that, is there? So
yeah, I bet there's something special about going and spending the weekend all together, working together for the betterment of kind of you and your brother at the time.
Yeah, and my brother. Yeah, can't forget my brother. He'll be kicking me.
But he was actually the one. He was good. Bless him. Really, we obviously spoke long and hard about this, and obviously he gave up his whole career, so
I'm sure
the spoiled one could have a, you know what I mean, a chance in life. But we can't. I was told not to bring that up.
You know why? You know why that is, Lee. He couldn't keep his end away.
Is that what happened? Did he find women, and that was it?
That was
kids saved Nathan's career. Pretty much
my nephews, I can thank my nephews for that. But that's what happened to my brother. My brother was actually. He
raced the Manx.
Yeah, he raced the Manx.
As your dad did.
Yeah, and my dad. Yeah, it was like my dad. My brother actually wasn't interested in it originally. I got a motocross bike at the age of 5, and he was into football and everything. And then a year later, I think he was like, "Oh, I fancy a bit of that." So he got one, and it went from there really. And then it just went up through, and he ended up doing the Manx and whatever else. And he was good. He just didn't get going off the start. Should have really won a Manx Grand Prix, but he wouldn't mind me saying that.
And no other sports tickled your fancy while you were growing up?
No, I can't run or anything. I'm like I can't really say it. At school, people used to take the piss out of me playing football because all I used to want to do is nail them, try and break their legs. I couldn't play it, so the most excitement I had, it was like
tackling.
Yeah, tackling. Yeah. So like all the best footballers, they used to have like, you know, when you used to choose your teams or whatever. They used to choose me and my other friend because they knew that at least their legs wouldn't get broken. But yeah,
as far as your skill went with football.
I actually do watch a bit of football. I'm into football now, like watching it, but I can't play it. I'm like the Toey King.
Did you used to play football?
Yeah, I played football until I was about 14, 15.
To a fairly high standard?
Yeah, played for my county and everything. And but I just couldn't cope with the fact that if
you get paid too much money,
I didn't want all that money, all that fame. It's just I really wanted a sport where you had to sell everything to be able to do it. That was my driving force in playing football. But
everything.
Yeah, my poor dad, like he drove me around the country for years playing football, and I literally came home one day and I thought, "It's not for me, Dad." That was it. And he was fuming.
Did you start racing bikes by then?
I had bikes as a kid and stuff, but then obviously took it seriously then from sort of 14, 15, which is late now, really. You know? Yeah. I was old before I'd even started. Imagine how good I would have been then.
You'd have been amazing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be sat here now, I'll tell you that for nothing.
Yeah. I'd be better off doing that, wouldn't I? I wouldn't be sat in here either.
So anyway, let's get back into it. Yeah. This building of this career. So we started road racing, went to the 650s with the twins. Yeah. And again, at any point here, are we thinking TT? The moment you got on a bike, were you thinking TT?
That was always the aim. Yeah. I didn't want to be like a BSB winner or a World Superbike winner. I didn't really even want to go to MotoGP. That wasn't like a lot of people that go to BSB and stuff. They want to be in MotoGP, don't they?
Yeah.
I think being from the Isle of Man and like we said before, like seeing the TT course all the time and everything else, I used to go and watch the bikes. My dad was a travel and marshal after he finished racing, so I used to go with my granddad and like a friend that used to race from Wales. So I used to like beg them to take me up the grandstand and stuff. It's funny, my granddad was only around me that the other day. He said we used to go up the grandstand and I used to be like love going around and asking like John and stuff for autographs. And he used to ring me on my phone. It's like I was old enough to get a phone, and he used to ring me and I used to like keep on declining the phone call and running around the grandstand so he couldn't find me. But he said that, you remember that? He said, "You never change, you're still always up there." But that was always the thing. I always wanted to be like a TT rider and hopefully one day win a TT. Still not got that far yet, but I've got a long way to go before I can hopefully try and do something like that. But that was always the aim, just to be a TT rider.
And then the next step, or the first step, should I say, is always the Manx mainly.
Yeah, the Manx Grand Prix. Some people go, I think it's a bit different now. There's a bit of a better structure to go to the TT. Like they've got like a proper structure, haven't they, to introduce newcomers?
Yeah.
Whereas like when I first did it, it was like there was like a newcomers race and stuff like that. So I wanted to go that route. There was like less pressure. I could go there, stay under like the radar, just build up slowly. I did 2 Manx Grand Prix. The first year, like I had Suzukis and my bikes were blowing up every 5 seconds. So I think I did like 7 laps. So like 7 laps of practice. I was leading the newcomers race, then it blew up, and then we like bodged together some engine for the senior. We weren't sure it was going to last, but it wasn't too bad. So I thought after that year, I didn't want to go to the TT. And my dad always said, there's no point going to the TT unless you're doing 120, otherwise you're just going to do like a rolling chicane and you're not going to be up to like the standard you want to be. So I come back the following year and I got a Honda, and it was that was the start of the story then to the next stage.
So before that though, how did we go about learning the circuit? Did we, because we just spent so much time on the island, we just knew it?
Yeah.
Or did you really do your homework, watch those on boards like everybody else, play the game, and then taking the laps in? And did you have anyone to kind of mentor you around the track as well?
Yeah, so I didn't really play the game. I don't think that really, personally for me, I don't think that really helps. But I used to just go, as soon as I could drive, I'd just go out and do laps all the time. Like Saturday night, I'd go and get a McDonald's or something and go. I wasn't really like...
He means salad after the gym, and then he would drive around the track.
I wasn't really like into my fitness or anything then. Like I wasn't really too bothered about that. So I go get a McDonald's big quarter pounder or something, sit in the car park, finish that, and then go for a lap around the TT course. And yeah, I'd do that. And I always I still do now. I love when the bikes come in and then like cake them flies. I just think it's like proper TT. So I used to go over in my van trying to see how fast I go over the mountain to see how many flies I could get on the front of it. So yeah, and then my dad was like, "You're mental. What? I don't know why you got this obsession with flies, but you know you're going fast then, don't you? You know what I mean?
The
you got
more
to go
flies,
fast to get the flies.
the faster you're going.
Exactly. So I used to basically just do that laps and laps. And then for my first TT, actually Dean was actually quite good with me. Dean Harrison. He was doing the classic TT as it was then, and he'd come along and just say, "Try this on this section," but he wouldn't overload it. He was like, "I'll teach you on like this first section. Try and do this here and there, and then build up to it and go from there." So, but other than that, I didn't really go around with too many people. I used to literally watch on boards. I think I've watched the John McGuinness on board like 1,000,001 times, and then I still watch it now. And then just literally drive around and familiarise yourself with it. Because I think when you ride them round, Leo might be different, but when you ride them round, you can go around with somebody, but when you literally put your helmet on and ride down, I think you forget a lot of the stuff that people have said because you're just concentrating on what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a completely different beast, I guess, as well.
But even like what you said about the game and stuff, I can't register that either. And like sometimes I've had people come to me that like I'm a newcomer at the Manx and they go, "Oh, what do you do here?" and everything, and it's like, you feel a little bit, I don't want to ever tell somebody something if something happened, like that sort of way, which would never enter your head in a short circuit. You literally go brake there, turn in there, change the gear, and it's like it doesn't matter. But here, it's different. And then the other thing is like I might be getting there and not even rolling, or you notice like when we come here to do the Manx, you'd be going through somewhere flat and you don't even think of that. Whereas that'll be down a gear and like there's the variation of things is massive, even in
with the
top riders. Never mind,
right?
Someone that's not. So I would struggle to even. But I think the biggest thing is if you want it bad enough, you learn yourself and you figure it out yourself.
Is that
then
what you did?
It goes in the bank, and you can't. I know some people can give you pointers, you said and stuff, but it's normally always simple things, like this phone box or this bus stop or this curb or this thing, and Milky tells you all them things now anyway. Do you know what I mean?
And does that go out, like you said, Nate, does that go out your head at the moment?
Not big things, but if he's saying little things, like, "Oh, there's a bump there, remember this, that and the other," and it's sometimes until you hit it or you do something wrong, then it's in the bank, then you're like, "Whoa, that's not happening again." But like I said, if I turn around and said all the things I use as a reference might not be him, it's a lot of things.
Yeah, it still baffles me that you can learn it, because I play the game quite a bit and I still...
It just takes really intelligent people to be fit to ride.
Which is why I never made it.
But the game, I just think that... I think when you live here as well, things look different on the game to real life. I think with me, it confuses you more. I know some people that have never been to the Isle of Man, it's completely different, isn't it? Because they can get a visual for where they're going.
Yeah.
But when you see it in real life, you're like, that phone box is like this bit
10 meters back.
Yeah. So it's like, it is like hard for the game, and plus it proper pisses me off that you can't, like, every 5 seconds you like crash, don't you? Maybe you're useless at a game.
So basically it means that he's crap at the game and he just can't get far enough to learn
gets a quarter bridge, crashes, turns it off.
But even the other big thing is, like you said about watching the John McGuinness onboards, and like, I'm not being funny, but like I said, people say, oh yeah, I've learned this bit. I'm like, you're sitting on your sofa, on your phone, watching, and I'm like, you can't, even by the time you get to St. Ninians, you're doing 170 mile an hour, 60 mile an hour.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, you think that's a kink and over a bit of a crest and a bump, and all them things don't happen on your sofa, on your phone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Your brain takes that in and feels it. You're like, ugh.
Yeah.
So even if there's one thing knowing where the track goes, but knowing what it feels like when it goes that way, and trying to, you know, preempt them things, that's a massive, you know, you can't teach until, sometimes people will come to you before they've even done a lap. Yeah. And then there's no reference because you've literally sat in a van, looked at a video, and I'm like, mate, come back at the end of the week, and then I'll say something, and they'll go, oh
sense.
yeah, I felt that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's like you said, that's the reason why I mainly do it. It's more like visual, if you know what I mean. Like if you watch an onboard lap, it's not to see how high he jumps over Black Bridge or anything like that. It's just to see, like, it's just like the repetitiveness. I think, you know, like it's, you know, the line stuff, where how it looks on the camera. It's like, and then driving around in the van, like you say, driving around in the van at like 30-40 mile an hour through Kurt Michael is nothing what it's like when everything's going mental through on your bike. But it's just the visual of, you know, where the road goes and how it's gonna seem to look, if you know what I mean.
So prior to being a TT or a Manx TT rider, you've only ever gone up and down Glen Crutchley Road going back and from to work or going out on a night out. So the first time they get you up on that road, on that start line, and they go, off you go, mate. Yeah. The roads are closed for you. How did that feel?
It's mental. Yeah. It is proper mental. I kind of felt like that the other day. It was like when you go for like Snugborough and stuff, I think your brain starts to think, right, you're kind of doing this now. Do you know what I mean? It's like everything's like settling down, and you're like, what the hell is going on? It's like, my first thing, when I first did it initially, was, it's like, it shouldn't be allowed. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't feel real. Like, you're going down this road, I'm doing like 160 mile an hour. I normally do 30 mile an hour. There's like signs that say 30 mile an hour, and then everyone's going like flashing at you. It's just like, yeah, that was like my initial thing. It was like, you shouldn't be allowed to do this kind of thing.
See, like, it's quite common for people to think that Nathan and Connor are at an advantage because, oh, they're Manx, they know where everything goes. Yeah. But actually, in my head, I see it as a disadvantage because they're always on the same road, driving at 30 mile an hour, 40 mile an hour. It's like, it's more wrong. Do you know what I mean? It's wrong for us, but I don't like, I very rarely drive a lap or do anything. So the only time I'm on that actual bit of road is doing my job. Yeah. So in my head, that's all it is. Whereas
we see it, and
he sees it every day. Going, you know, we might go to his auntie's house, his cousin. You know what I mean? It's a completely flip side. He has to really switch his brain off, rather than, to me, it's just like, oh well, when I go over the mountain, I'm going flat out. That's it. There's never even a thought of something's coming the other way or. It's literally, that is it. You know, there's no.
He's going flat out in his van.
Well, true.
Getting flies.
Yeah.
So it must feel pretty strange when you're doing that in middle of December, middle of January, when the TT's so far off.
I do. Like, if I'm bored in the winter or whatever, I will go and do a lap. Just something to do. It's not much to do in the Isle of Man, is there? It's a bit derelict.
He's selling the place. If you want to come here on holiday, get yourself over in January and kill flies with Nathan.
Well, that's what I mean. You can't even catch flies in January. It's too cold. But no, it's like in, say, like December and January, it is completely different. There's no wreck to sell out. The trees, there's no leaves on the trees. It is like, I never take anything for gospel at that time of year. Do you know what I mean? Because come April, May, or say April, everything's starting to change, and it looks like how the TT course is going to look. Whereas like in January, it's just, like you say, I just go around. It's just good to do a lap. It keeps it in your memory and whatever else. But it's also something to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the biggest thing you said there is like the trees and stuff. So there's a lot of places at the TT that are not dark, but like a lot darker than open, like the mountain or whatever. So if you imagine certain places like that in wintertime, there's no leaves on it. It's light then as well. So it's a completely different
outlook.
Yeah, and you could see through things that you probably can't see.
Oh yeah.
Something you wouldn't even think of until like that would never even enter my
Yeah.
head because I've never drove around here killing flies in January. So it's not.
It makes you wonder that, doesn't it? If there is how many points on the TT course you'd be able to actually see through if there wasn't any leaves.
It was like Glen Helen and everything, isn't it? It's like you can definitely tell a difference. That's how I obviously know, but it's even the grandstand. The grandstand just looks like in the winter. It's just like there's no banners, there's nothing. It's just like a building in Douglas. Do you know what I mean? It's weird, and then all of a sudden it just comes to life in a matter of months.
Yeah. Right, before we wrap up this part, the first part, and we've not even really spoken about your TT, let's go back to the Manx GP. You did the double there on your second time being there.
Yeah.
How was that? How did that feel to be a Manx GP winner?
Yeah, it's like I love the Manx Grand Prix. Like you say, my brother's done it, my dad's done it. It's been like a big part of our family, like in our racing careers. Unfortunately for them, I'm better than them. They never won one. My dad likes to say he didn't have the machinery, and my brother likes to say he didn't have a Honda.
That's his excuse.
I know.
Yeah.
So
I think his brother would have won one before him.
100%.
I hope he sees this.
He always listens, so he'll definitely be listening. But yeah, no, it was like a massive thing, and we come together. I'd obviously in 2015 as well. I had a big accident where I ended up breaking so much stuff. So that was like 2 years of my career lost. So people start young. Well, I tried to start young and try and get like an advantage, and I ended up spending like 3 years in hospitals. So it was like another big thing. That was like my next comeback. I'd come back and then I was like, right, now is the Manx Grand Prix. I did a year on a 600 again, got up to speed, got confident. I was like, my dad was like, you're not going around the TT course unless you don't crash like once or twice in the year. So I was like going around everywhere, trying not to crash. I was like, I want to do the Manx Grand Prix. So we went for that, and then went into the Manx Grand Prix when I was that winning year, and I was like, right, now is the time that I'm going to come back and get over all that stuff, and it's going to be like the start of a new chapter. And practice week was going good. I was always like in the top three, and the first two I was battling, and I was like, I know there's more in there. So I waited till the last night of practice and did 100. I think I broke the junior lap record. Obviously it's unofficial in practice, and I was like, I know I could do this. And I was leading the junior race, and I was getting excited because I think I was leading on it went down to a 3-lap race.
I was leading and I was getting excited.
I seen a pit board. I was like, I did get like a little bit like loose if you like. I was like 19, so 21, and I was getting a little bit excited. I was coming into the nook I know all like the people in the nook. So on the first lap, all the marshals, and I was like coming to there, the one place where everyone knows me. I come in there and the bike was like sideways, nearly locked up, and then like straight onto my dad at the end of the race. You come into the first lap into there, but I just got a board at the Craigna Bar saying P1. I was like, my head was going everywhere. So they were all like, he was out of shape coming into there in the first lap, but he wasn't like the second and third lap. But that was the lap. So I come into there, and it was a mandatory pit stop, I think, on lap 2, because it was a 3-lap race. And I come in there, they were like shouting at me, pit limiter, and I was just revved up, and then I flew out of there, and it was like 70-something kilometers because I didn't hit the pit limiter after they shouted it. So I had one lap to get 30 seconds back, and I was like 20 seconds down at Glen Helen or something like that. Was
it a 30-second penalty in the pits? Oof.
Yeah, he's maybe gained 0.9 of a second, and you get 30 seconds.
So that was it. Then I was like, I knew exactly what I'd done, and there was a clip on YouTube for ages of me like passing like 3 bikes up the Battle of Hutchin. But I knew I was like, I just got a 30-second penalty there. Obviously, I didn't know for definite, but I knew I hadn't hit the button, and I looked up and I was like, I've got to do something about this. I'm not throwing this away. So it was like, then I got to the Blaff and it was like 10 seconds. Ramsey was like 6 seconds. The Bungalow was 3, and then obviously that's when we're saying about the advantage of being Manx. I think you do have like a bit of like bias. Like all the marshals on the mountain were like giving me like big waves and stuff like around the 30 second. They're hanging in the road like waving at me. And I was like, I must be pretty close. And then at the Craigna Bar, there was like, it said like P2 plus 1.6 or something. So I like hung it out all the way around the end. But that was like the big one. That was the challenge. So after the junior, I'd won that. I'd got in the Tommy Club. I was happy. And I was like, in the senior, that got pushed forward because of the weather. I was like, I'm just going to go out and enjoy myself and have some fun. And it was proper windy. So I come in on the pit stop on the second lap of the senior. And I was like to my dad, I was like, I can't get my head into this. It's windy. I'm not feeling it. He's like, pull off then. I was like, I'm not pulling off. I've got to wait till next year, till the TT. So, but then after the pit stop, I had a drink. I don't know, Lee probably knows what this is like. I had a drink, took a tear off, went out of the pits, and I felt like a completely new person. It was weird how like, just like that stop, a drink, somebody talking to you. I know it's all in like 50 seconds, but it is like
Yeah, well,
It's
it was
reset.
probably the fear of your dad telling he was going to
Yeah,
take
you
your
take my
toy
bike
off
off
you,
me, yeah.
take your bike off
I was
you. So
like-
the little
yeah.
boy was like, no.
I'll give it to your brother then.
Yeah.
And then come through Braddon Bridge, I was like, where am I? Sorry, in the pits, I was like, where am I? He was like, you are in third or something like that. And I was like, so I've been riding around like a nosher for 2 laps, and I'm still in third. I was like, I could do this. So I come out of Braddon Bridge and I was like, ready for it. Then I thought, it's two laps of the TT course left that I'm not going to be able to do till next year, which ended up turning out to be 2 years, didn't it, because of COVID. So I'm glad I didn't get off the bike. And obviously the senior Manx Grand Prix to locals, it's probably only mainly locals that watch it, really. There's not really many other people that come over to watch the senior Manx Grand Prix. So I was getting some encouragement from there, and then it said on the last lap it was like P2 plus 8, and I ended up winning it by like 17 seconds and did like 122 at the Manx, which was pretty good. I think there's not many people that have gone over 122 is there at the Manx Grand Prix. So yeah, no, that was like a big part of the next step to my career then. I thought I stayed on Hondas and then got off Fireblade and went and did some mileage then to get ready for the TT. And I think with the TT getting cancelled in 2020, I think that actually did help me because I never rode never rode 1,000 before in my life. I thought it's not actually that long between the Manx Grand Prix and the TT. It's winter to start with straight away. Then you come out of the winter, and the TT, as you know, it does come up pretty quick, doesn't it? There's like 2 BSB rounds before it.
You think it's miles away, and the next minute you're on the, well, not for him, he's driving from Oncombe down, but we're on the boat, and you're like, ooh.
Yeah. So I was like, when TT got cancelled, I was as gutted as everybody, no matter what. But when you look back now, I feel like that actually did help me massively because I got to spend a full year. 2020, I didn't do much because the Isle of Man was like a lockdown place, wasn't it? It was like its own little like secret island where you could do whatever you want and stuff. But then in 2021, I spent a full year then getting up to speed with no pressure, building up. We were away all the time, riding it. And I was like, then I was confident for TT 2022, and it went from there.
All right, Nathan, we're going to pause this episode right here. Now, if you want to check out the next episode coming up with Nathan Harrison, where we talk about that Honda factory ride as well as his first ever TT, check it out on TT Plus. In fact, here's a clip right now.
And then in the Superbike race, I was like racing him again, and I wanted to beat John McGuinness, and I beat him. And then we come in, I was like, I finally beat you and all this, and it didn't change. Even like this year, he knew that I just wanted to. Everywhere we went, I just wanted to like beat him, and he was like, I just want to get to the TT kind of thing. And look what happened anyway. But he all the way through that year, him and Harv were like giving me advice and helping me with bits and pieces. And I think I built a relationship with John, and then I think John, when Glenn moved, John basically said, why don't you try a young person and try and nurture them through, which was the plan.
Now, the first place you can see that is right here on TT Plus, so make sure you've signed up. Well, obviously you have because you're watching it here. So thanks, everybody. Lee, until next week, see you then, mate.
Bye.